Hello and welcome to another guide to Metroid Fusion speedrunning. This time I'm going to be going over Nightmare, because this is one of those fights that is very punishing when you're just starting out, because he hits very hard. There's a lot that you need to know about this fight that you may not otherwise. Starting out, as I jump in, pay note to the background. So, Nightmare does these sort of growling, roaring sounds as he's ascending as the fight starts. So, one very key thing to note about these, there's exactly 12 of them every single time. Nightmare does 12 of those before he's vulnerable. So, I'm going to count down these sound effects and then fire to open the fight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, that is the first cue to keep note of with the fight. The second cue is, on the 12 sound effect, watch his arms. So if you noticed his arms, on the 12th sound effect, his arms reel into its body, as soon as they're back into its body, it's vulnerable. So as soon as you notice the arms go into its body, you can fire your shots. So those are the key things to know when opening the fight for the first shot. So another bit of information on the shots is when you shoot, you want to charge your shot for the next time with the shot you do with the missile. So when you release your shot, you want to hold this missile shot. Charge your charge beam with the shot with the same input as what you do with the missile. So you fire, you do your missile, and then you charge with that missile input. One of the common misconceptions is that Nightmare is RNG. He has no RNG involved with him, so long as you enter the room facing the right side. So long as you kill the first part the same every time, you will get the exact same pattern each time. So I've killed it a little bit differently, but because of the opening shot, I don't think the pattern will change too much. Yeah, it was not as low as it would have been if I killed it a little bit sooner, but that's still a pretty manageable pattern. Nightmare's face is 20 missiles exactly. So you can kind of track how many shots you hit on his face, or like how many shots you take. So I take 2, so that's 2 off. And we finish on 14. Got 1 extra 1 just for safety. But it's 20 shots to kill. First part is 4 charge beams, 3 missiles, or you could do 3 charge beams, 4 missiles, or 5 missiles. I do 3 charge beams, 5 missiles, which looks like this. There we go, there's the 4 missiles. Or 5. I do 5 just because there is a chance that I don't hit all of my shots with one of the charge beams. That 5th missile just ensures that I do enough damage. And if I do enough damage, then kills. It also means that I can kind of track my missiles a little bit easier on this part, because it'll be exactly 20, which will be 15 missiles left. Granted, I don't sink any, but it's also easier for me, personally, to count down from 15 missiles for each tink I do. With the first shot on the face, want to pay attention to the explosion. You can shoot at the end of the explosion for when its manipulator breaks and its face is appeared. Just like that, right at the end of the sound effect. Now, with manipulating Nightmare, you don't want to bring it too high, because Nightmare will end up circling around another time because it's too high to be able to settle itself. I'm going to bring it as high as I can. And it's ended up circling around. You want to try and stay pretty low to the ground. It'll settle at a pretty easy to deal with height. It can settle quite a bit lower than the ladder. So, if it does come too low to the ladder, for the ladder, you can still shoot it diagonally. It's better to have Nightmare settle lower than it is to settle higher. So just jump over it twice. That should be easy enough height for it to settle in a good spot. And then you can just finish it off. So ideally you don't want it to circle any more than just the once after it comes down from hitting you on the ladder. Any more than that is a little bit of time loss. You can snowball it, so try not to bring Nightmare too high. You want to try and keep it close to the middle of the room. So say you do mess up the first phase, and there's a very good chance that you'll end up with a different pattern if you end up doing so. So I'm gonna mess it up intentionally. There we go. It's a very awkward fight for me to deal with now, but just make sure you get in. Just make sure you have your charge shots. And there we go. I took a lot of damage, sure, but I managed to just about get it. But the pattern is going to be wildly different. See what we get from this. Okay, it goes really high. Just bring it across to the corner. You can't get another shot like I just did. And then, there we go. Manages to settle because I don't bring it too high. I recognize that when it goes up, going to the corner brings it down, which allows you to jump over it. Different timings will determine on the pattern. If you manage to kill it roughly around the same sort of time every time, it doesn't have to be exact, but the same sort of time, the 4 shots or the free charge 4 missiles, etc., depending on which method you choose, the pattern should be very similar pretty much every time. It'll just swoop down to the floor. Maybe it'll stay a little bit too high, so you can't end up getting some shots, say if you're a bit too slow on it. But if you manage to get that opener the same every time using the start cues, the sound effects and the arms reeling in, you use that. You should be able to time the first shot each time, and then follow the same sort of movement I've been doing to make sure you get all the shots on the manipulator. That's how you fight Nightmare himself. I'm going to just quickly do a demonstration of the doubles as well. Try and explain those. So, I want you to pay a quick bit of attention to the core. It's not the easiest thing to notice, but this is a cue on the first double. So, as the core's forming, you can see it flash, and then you'll see it form once. It'll flash once more, and the second time it forms, it's vulnerable. When you see that first flash finish, or like the first part of the core forming fully visibly the first time, is when you want to fire. You want to fire as the core has gained shape the first time. You don't look directly for the core forming, but you watch the first flash finish. Just like that. And then you bring it across with 2 space jumps. And there you go. So, doubles, you're not trying to hit the core from below. You're trying to swing the core around to make it smack into 2 missiles you put in its way. Those 2 missiles hit on the same frame, so core hitboxes are square in this game, so you're manipulating the core in a way to where it swings round. When it swings around, it smacks into those 2 missiles, and that's double damage. That's less shots. But yeah, as you can see, I'm bringing the core around. I missed a shot, but I'm bringing the core around in a way where I can put 2 missiles in its way, and it'll smack into them. Those aren't the best doubles, but that's doubling Nightmare core. That's how you double pretty much all cores. So I hope this guide really helps you with that, because I know Nightmare is one of those roadblock bosses. or even one of those bosses that some, I think, more intermediate players may have a bit of a hard time with. So I hope this guide helps, and I hope this guide polishes up how you fight Nightmare, or maybe teaches you something new about the fight. So it's been me. Make sure you check out my box guide. Make sure you check out my any percent item guide, and I'll be doing some more, so keep an eye on those. And make sure you leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another guide.